PMI Kerala chapter for inviting me for this talk, and I'm really privileged to give a session in front of all distinguished guests. This is on a, I'll say, in today's era where COVID is going around, so expecting that all of you are safe out there. So this is about the future of manufacturing industry post the COVID era and what do we expect from it. And that's why I tried to put the initial pages itself where we can see Corona and then people are moving around with masks. It's not only at one end of the globe, but it has actually taken up more than 200 countries across the globe. And how is it going to affect the manufacturing sector is what the bottom one is going through. And many of the decision makers, there inside their brains, such kind of drawings would be going on. And how and what kind of strategies have to be done so that I want to climb that ladder up in the given context of today where we have already come down, right? So I was just having a look at various statistics which was provided. This is for Indian government, and it was expected that as November, December, we had a GDP growth of around 1.2, which was expected to increase to January and March to 5%. But then it's also now given an estimate that April, June will really have a bad time and will actually go to minus 9.3%. So it really asks for a lot of challenge for a manufacturing as well as including other sectors. So we could also see the economic impact of this COVID-19 as a study done by McKinsey & Company on India. And you can see almost all the sectors, this includes services also, but you can see a lot of manufacturing sectors, all of us are going down. The output as compared to the initial prediction, the last year's one, is really going to go down by minus 20, 40, 30, 60. It's a huge extent, right? So, and it has a significant impact also on the employment in terms of million loss. So it's a big challenge for all the organizations, in particularly having a look at manufacturing, which was already having a tough time in last few, I'll say, quarters. That automatically gives us an idea or put up the decision makers thinking cap on what are the things which I have to do. Now, that to begin with, I thought this could be a wonderful quote to take. You cannot rewrite your past, but you can grab the clean sheet of paper and write your future. So basically trying to see that whatever has gone, whatever that is gone, maybe whatever processes was followed, that's gone, because that was another era. Now post-COVID-19, with a lot of uncertainties coming in, and you can also see the last 20 years, the kind of trend we had it. We started with SARS, then MERS, so slowly, that which was the particular region specific moved on to Asia Pacific, then Middle East Asia part of it, then now it's a global. God knows such kind of things, how much it is going to come in future. We had it in Kerala itself last year, Nipah, where again such kind of diseases were there and such kind of thing, but it was restricted primarily to Kerala. Then it moved on, this particular version, throughout India and of course, globally. It's although we are not the originator, it's claimed to be from China. On the other hand, Abraham Lincoln said, the best way to predict your future is to create. So both of these try to say that somehow I have to look at how do I create such kind of processes, how do I create some kind of systems, ecosystems, where my manufacturing gets back to track, right? So I thought generally if you have a look at management schools, they always go around with some stories. Now, this is the best story which I could find out, where you can see Brazilian soccer, because Kerala predominantly there are a lot of people who really love soccer. So they were world champions in 1958-62 under Pele's leadership. And the same team, I'll say, under same leadership in Pele's leadership in 1996, they had a shocking first round exit. Now, when the entire analysis was done, why does that happen that a team which has been world leaders in 2 years, 2 World Cups, had a shocking exit? So this is something important which I could see was there. coach was there, right? The previous coaches, they had removed the previous coaches because people were all after him. So the authorities removed it, and they had appointed a new coach, and he submitted to a lot of pressures, which was not there with the previous coach, right? Now here, all the Brazilian clubs, they wanted their own representation. They were not thinking about Brazil. They were thinking about my club, right? So in terms of that one, it landed up to around 46 players in the initial listing. That 46 players in the initial listing had a tremendous impact on the internal conflicts and psychological pressure. If you ask a simple question out of this, would I like to be in such a situation as a player? Such kind of uncertainty in a very reputed team in a very important tournament. The consequences, you can see it, right? So ultimately, when I once again had a look at it in 1970, the same team won once again in a grace and style, and it is said that it is one of the best team ever produced by Brazil. Right? Now, what are the new things they did? They appointed a new coach who was not afraid to take bold decision and who was not influenced by any kind of pressure tactics, whatever is there. And he focused especially on innovations. Now, what are the kind of innovations he brought into football or soccer of Brazil during the 1970 World Cup? Unique attacking style of soccer, which was not evident in any of the other comparative team or the previous teams of Brazil. Building a cohesive team, right? So because he did not have a 46 list of players, so it was easier for him. And it required leadership, and both in management as well as in soccer field, the field of operations, whichever he was involved in. So the story itself gives us an idea of, although it's not from manufacturing sector, from another sports field, but innovation and bold decisions are the answer whenever you have a crisis, right? So when you have a look at this one, then you actually find out in literatures across the various parts that there are primarily 3 distinct phases of proposed recovery which a manufacturer can try out at his end. First one is survival. Now, what does that survival mean? So survival mindset has to be there. Now we have already fallen. How do I get it? I have to get it up. There is no answer towards it, no if and but. I have to get up if I have to be in that business. So the state of continuing to live or exist, especially after a dangerous event has happened. Right? That's what has happened. Now, the second phase is all about recovery. Recovery isn't about what is easy to do. It's about what is necessary and worth it for it. Right? Because at this point of time, most of the companies might have run out of cash. They would have limited cash. So I cannot put my hand everywhere. So I have to really prioritize what to do, what not to do, what has to be done at this moment, so that I can get back to trajectory as far as possible. And final phase is redefining business as usual in a new era of working. Now that is where I thought it could be easier for me to link it to somewhere what Charles Darwin said. He said that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent of them which survives, but it's the most adaptable to change. So that's what you are looking at it. If I have to be in a longer run successful, somewhere or other, I have to be more adaptable. My systems have to be more adaptable. The ecosystem in which we are working has to be more adaptable, flexible, adaptable. So develop practices for long-term growth capable of adapting any shock conditions or disruption. Let it be a global shock, let it be a local shocks also. Right? So whereas recovery was restore business operations post-crisis disruption, minimum acceptable limits. Okay. Now, then in order to go through all these processes, I need to understand what are primarily the uncertainties faced by Indian manufacturers as on date. I could see that there are some important one. Is first thing is I need to have a workplace safety. There is a threat still looming. Although the economy has started opening up, but there is a threat still looming large, and there is a perception within even my employees that if I go out to work, what will happen? I will have it, my families will have it, and so on. So there is a threat of spread in the workplace is there, and once one person has it in a workplace, maybe it is entirely sealed out. The organization can further be going into lockdown for a longer period. So how do I avoid that? Uncertainty is also there in terms of the cash constraint, because last 2-3 months we have not been earning revenue and generation is nothing. Now it's quite possible all of us are also providing the salaries to our employees. Fixed cost is already taken up. So all these things keeping in mind, the cash constraints are already present. Now we can also see in TV news everywhere how many lakhs and lakhs of workers are moving from Kerala outside, from outside to Kerala, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, every place, of course, they are traveling. So there is a huge deal of uncertainty within the decision maker and policy makers that whether these resources, so this, it's not only about temporary migrants, it's quite possible, like whatever we are seeing from our Saudi side of it, and even expats outside from Gulf countries, that people may not be interested to work there and they will be coming back to their homeland. So similar instance might happen also to some organizations where employee may leave these places, especially these places which are still in hotspot after so many days on these metro cities and all, right? So if the staffs go back, there's an uncertainty about the staffs which have gone back, migrant laborer which have gone back, and manufacturing industry are usually dependent on to do number of other activities on migrant labor. Will they come back or not? How do I get that resource, and what will I do next? There is also that last 2 months, 3 months, number of organizations have been working 30% capacity or even shut down completely. So the machines would have actually been idle for such a long period of time. It might require repair, maintenance, servicing, a lot of work. Who will do it? Whether some person will be interested to come or not come. So I am again linking back to the safety place, what is there, how safe I can do it. Now you are also looking at entire supply chain breaking down, where there are raw materials, there are semi-finished goods, there are finished goods lying at various places of the ecosystem, and hence I am still not able to get the revenue. Of course, the revenue will only come when the customers are willing to buy. Now, there has been tremendous change in the buying behavior of the customer behavior. Also, a number of them may not be interested to buy at this uncertain moment. So the sales might be a little bit coming down, or I'll say drastically coming down, which has been shown in the prediction of the McKinsey report. So then it might require some, I'll say, innovative sales skills to motivate the customer, and of course some kind of policy interventions where you are also looking at the customer getting some money so that he can go to the market and spend that money, right? So keeping all these uncertainties in mind, so I thought we can have some kind of questions which are actually leading us to various kinds of innovation in processes, in system, in ecosystems and all. So one is all about employee safety. How do I redesign my internal system considering the safe environment, right? How do I do it? I'm looking at my staff and workers which have gone back. How do I motivate them to return back or replace them? Where do I replace them with? Whom do I replace them? We are also looking at how do I arrange this kind of liquidity crisis, whatever has happened. From where do I get this cash, additional cash? I cannot go back to the same way of operation. So what do I do? Then you are looking at now, how do I connect with people? Because 6 feet distance, or they are also talking about work from home. Work from home might be good for some organization, but work from home 100% may not be feasible in number of almost all the manufacturing sectors. 100% it may not be feasible. So somehow or other I have to manage it. So am I looking at somewhere I'm using high-end technologies to get a part of it, and so on? We'll have a look at it. We'll also be looking at various handle demand versus supply capacity mismatch, because there are some industries, especially the medical equipments, which at one point of time the demand was so high regarding ventilators, regarding PPE kits, all this. So the manufacturers, whatever we had it, they were running out of capacities. They did not have capacities to fulfill the demand. Now government sources say that they have enough capacity with them. Now, if I have built up my capacity, what do I do with that capacities, right? On the other hand, there are manufacturers who are shut down for such a long period of time, and they have the capacities. With opening up, where is the demand arising? So somewhere you are looking at all such business being hampered also. Ultimately, you are also looking at somewhere where supply chain disruptions have happened almost everywhere, right? How do I recover? How do I redesign for resilience? Will Industry 4.0 tools help me out? Do I have to do collaboration, or is collaboration mandatory at this situation? All these things become very essential part of the designing of processes and system which we are going forward. Right? So you can see a number of responses to these questions might be overlapping, and it has to be overlap because we are talking about a system and complex systems part of it. So that leads us to somewhere, if I am a decision maker at the top, so my companies are in trouble, the COVID is globally present, so I cannot think of only leaving this or going somewhere else. What do I do? No vaccines are available. Although from Rome, someone had said a couple of days back, vaccines are ready. They are happy to say that the test is going positive, but still coming back in bulk market, it will going to take time. So the leaders or system designers, while designing new normal, need to think about it. So that leads us so that basically they are as far as possible safe from corona, as well as they are also trying to improve their economy, their financial balance part of it. Ultimately, in order to do this becomes an essential element where you are looking at how I can maintain the social norms as per the Government of India's regulation. How do I maintain safety regulations as per whatever the Government of India has said? Now, is such kind of 6 feet distancing, whatever you see in this office space, is that a good solution? So taking forward, I was just thinking of putting away, okay, so if this is a good solution of having 6 feet every place, in a long run, will it be productive? Because no, we do not see anywhere 6 months to 1 year down the line, unless and until vaccines are mass produced and distributed, the solutions may not be there instantly available. In such a case, so do we see it is really productive? Because I may not be using the space properly. I may not be using the capacities to 100% because I have to leave gaps. So definitely the potential capacity which was there yesterday may not be realized today, right? In such a situation, what should be done? So I was just having a look at various industries which were already doing it. So one way is to provide masks and gloves so that we have safety to some extent. Then another way, if you have a look at it here, the employees are not at a 6 feet distance. They are still close to each other. Now, if I want to still be close to each other, then somewhere I might have to look at redesigning my systems. Can this kind of a barrier, internal barrier, this is just with a cardboard, but you can have a fiber board or a plastic or a thick plastic board. But can some kind of a separation mechanism help me out where I do not have to compromise too much on my space also, but still both of them are relatively far away to get affected by the spread of COVID, potential threat of COVID spread. Now there is another thing which we are having a look at something. Do we have to reduce the single-skilled human power and replace it with multi-skilled human power with technology support? For example, if you have a look at this particular shop now, you can see there are 4 employees which are working parallelly. Now, one employee is a utility tech support line operators on multiple lines. He just checks if everything is fine or not. One more is a quality inspector which is there. The third person is a forklift operator, and the 5th is working with the environmental systems and all the systems which is there. Can we move that into small pods, right? Small pods or small cabins by putting some kind of physical barrier. And in addition to that, so basically I have removed one person from here, utility tech support. Now, can this utility tech support job be done remotely via some kind of Industry 4.0 technology support systems? We'll talk about it after some time. And can we also have a look at quality inspector instead of standing there and doing it? Can he again do it remotely with the tools of AR, VR, and all such scenarios which are available, virtual reality, augmented reality tools? If that is possible, then again, I'm removing the number of closed fixed workers near each other, and I have a barrier also where it reduces the risk of transfer via various mechanism which has been is suspected, which has been also proved, right? Now, the second part of it is how do I motivate to return back the staff as well as the migrant laborers. Now, the only mantra out there I feel is communication, communication, and communication. You might have come across in a newspaper and all, there are some people who, even in farming sector, who have given the entire flight tickets to their peasant so that they can go back in this crisis and come back, right? Now, am I demonstrating something good behavior? At least the concern for my employees might be migrant labor also. But if you are here, I'll pay you, I'll give you food, don't worry about it. Now, once everything is over, say once flight is over, starting, trains are starting, I'll send you by the most safest medium. So let us travel as soon as possible. So you go by flight. And once everything is done, you come back. Do you feel such kind of people have more tendency to come back? Because I have thought about them as a, you can say, a manufacturer, as a owner of that farm. So such kind of people are again more likely to come back to job. So my uncertainty about that is little bit to a lower extent. Now, how do I communicate? Is it the traditional way of communicating, the conventional, I'll say, very old way of communicating, or I have to change that medium and I have to look at the different ways to do it? How do I get it back? Right. So when you're looking at it, you might have to, even though the migrants have gone back, if you have taken care of them properly, so this time has come, you have to get in touch with them, saying that, how are you? Even you give them a courtesy call. Last session of PM, I was listening. The speaker had clearly indicated that point also. He had reflected that point. Communicate with them that how are you? You are doing well. Even that simple talk, it's more likelihood that they can come back to you as compared to leaving them at that place and expecting that when you are in trouble, they will come back for you, right? So you have to communicate, and if you have to facilitate the returns, you might have to do it. If that's the only options for you available to you. It's also possible that you might have a look at your retired employees once above 60 and all these threats are over, or else if the retired employees are unable to come to the floor as such, can I provide them a medium because of their experience is very handful to us. So can I provide them technology platforms like AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, such kind of platforms, where they can provide their expertise to the person on the shop floor, and the shop floor person really it's getting helpful for him to reorganize, right? Now this could be for 6 to 12 months, but we should be very clear in advance to him, right? Explore the availability of local workforce. The workforce might, from my end, might have gone to, say, Bihar, but then from some people from Maharashtra would have also come back to me. Right? In Kerala, also from Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, number of people have come back. It may not be to that extent, but can I explore whether they have the facilities or they have the skill sets available? If they do not have the skill sets available to my requirement, can I train them in a shorter period of time, even at this point of time, through online mediums? So if I'm able to train them, at least I can get some amount of my workforce back, right, with me. I'm also looking at a potential option of considering staff's importance. Now, once I have it, because I could see the impact of huge amount of, I'll say, first time in India, such kind of manpower movement would have happened ever, even in the world. So if I'm having him back, similar same workers, am I creating a good assurance mechanism for him? And through our labor law policy changes, where I might be providing him even not full payment, even partial payment of his salaries, and also assure him all kinds of support. So it has to be in a policy document part of it, where in future, if such kind of things happen, we will take care of you, right? Now, all these things are a mix of ifs and buts are there, where you are talking about, do I have cash flows? Do I have the employees who are willing to come back? How do I get these employees back? Because these employees, if they are not going to come back and you are still heavily dependent on them, you do not want to take the modern IR tools and all these things investment at this moment, at the survival point of time, then you have to invest, right? So either invest in IR. If you don't want to invest there, that is the automation part of it, then invest in your people. Because if you don't invest in your people, then your entire factories will be closed down, or I'll say still in a partial operational mode, which will be always very costly for you. Right? Now I'm looking at how do I arrange this cash. Now one of the best ways, as we discussed earlier, it's not an important investment, priority investment instantly, so better defer it. Right? Or don't expend 100%, just expend whatever is minimum necessity is there. So in that way, I still save some of the cash which will be available for me to pump it back to my system. Now, instead of releasing 15, 16 different varieties of product, because that was what was the norm previously, that I'll give customers a huge chunk of options. Now, almost all of us are really facing troubles in this crisis situation. So, can I reduce the number of portfolios of product which I am offering? That would give us a higher predictability as well as economies of scale of production, and hence my inventory costs are also expected to reduce because the variability will be lesser. Securing outstanding incomes. Now, when you're looking at securing outstanding incomes, you might have to really work with our private sector clients if they require some relaxation in a long term, because I still want that business to be there with me. I might give him some relaxation, but I would definitely chase the government agencies and public sector undertakings to return the outstanding dues which are there. Right? So then we are also looking at access to additional capital through low interest rates. Right now, the government has released a 20 lakh crore package. Now they are also providing lower interest rate working capital available. So through these low interest loans, or through your own retained earning, whatever you can get the capital for working capital from the banks as such, can I use such kind of working capital? I would say the final option should be to appeal to government for various kinds of financial support. But I do not think you will always get a huge chunk of money for financial support part of it, because in this competitive era, I believe a lot of keeping our national, I'll say, fiscal deficit in account, they would not like to spend everything in the first quarter. They would definitely keep some amount in the remaining quarters to be spent, because there are still a number of uncertainties. And you can see we are battered by a number of cyclones. Yesterday there was a cyclone, and then the rainy season coming up. So there could be a lot of emergencies which might be coming up in due course of next 3-4 months. So I don't think they will be actually giving you a lot of cash in hand. So although we can at least try from our hand, but maybe the previous, all the options could be a better solution on that. Now, how do I ensure performance with the limited movement of people considering the current scenarios, whatever we have it? Now, in this case, can we also look at, previously there was very frequent meetings and travels associated with it, with most of us now getting habituated to the mediums of Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and all such online platforms where we can have meetings. So if, as far as possible, we would try and avoid such kind of travel. It saves your travel time. It also gives you some kind of cash shaving back to your hand, and also keeps your senior management, junior manager, whoever is traveling, as far as possible as in a safe environment, and they'll be available for various other works, and they can do more number of jobs, because at least for every flight travel you need 2 hours to stay here, 2 hours to travel. All these things are an important part, right? So there is also a very big question that should we go ahead with online meetings and online working groups, because if you have a look at it, software companies, because of the nature of work which they do, they can easily translate to almost all the work groups, small work groups working in online platform. But is it expected that across the senior and junior? I personally feel that it may not be true across the table, because seniors might be really happy. I heard someone that the spy talking about that if you are senior, the kids are out, so you are alone, your rooms are separate, so no problem, it's a bigger house part of it. So you would love to reduce the number of travels in metro city traffics and all. But as a junior employee, he was also making a very interesting point that we are all social animals, and as we want to interact with people, we would not love to have the same room sitting environment for years and years or months and months together. So is it possible for me to schedule the shift rotation basis? Every alternate day, every 2 days, once would be my job at a remote working condition. Of course, if it's not a shop floor job, right? It's not a shop floor job. Now, when you are looking at a shop floor job part of it, then are you looking at spreading the work timing into 2 shifts, 3 shifts, 4 shifts, so that the number of employees in a given shift reduces, right? Staggered work timing, what they talk about it. Now, including the lunch breaks as well as tiffin breaks, whatever you have it in factory shop floor. Currently, it is at one point of time you have a factory lunch break. So I need to have a staggered part so that you can maintain the 6 feet rule and also still then have a decent amount of experience while taking lunch without having tension of COVID going around, right? So you are looking at enhanced collaboration with suppliers, so that if I can have a good supplier-buyer relationship, then it's quite possible that because of that personalized relationship, we can have a high quality of incoming materials and sub-assemblies. And you can also use a lot of advanced technologies which are all coming up in Industry 4.0, where instead of going to the buyer supplier side every time for inspection, I can have a look at the image, whatever he's sending me of the products. So if it's possible to do it, better explore that opportunity, because you may not have to travel once again, right? But the whole questions about that is all about, can I do it instantly? Now, if you have not invested in that instantly, already pre-COVID time, it may not be a good idea to immediately do it for a survival mode, right? But for a recovery and your previous redesigning of business as usual mode, it could be a better solution to have a look at it, right? So high demand and supply fluctuations. Now, this is a call which was clearly demonstrated during the COVID crisis, that an automobile company was also making ventilators, right? Some other companies were making PPs. You can see your fashion product company, especially in terms of your Nivea and all, Dettol, who are never into sanitizers, they went into sanitizers. Goa Brewing is into something else, but they started making sanitizers. So it is possible for me to modify my machine layout or product layout structures, or have a flexible manufacturing system, so that we can have multiple product development at some new complex, so that I'm not doing the same product portfolio expansion, but a new portfolio is coming up. So is it possible for me in such a scenario, wherever there is a global pandemic or a local pandemic part of a local epidemic part of it, then I'll shift my manufacturing from one to another. It gives me a little bit of flexibility in decision what to make, what not to make, depending on what is going up or down in my demand and supply scenarios, right? So when you have a look at supply chain disruptions, I'm just trying to present some of the views of various industry leaders before I come to my view. So they were all talk about, say, EY was talking about, Ernst & Young said about automation is the road ahead. Intelligent supply chains, supply planning tools and production automation is expected to improve productivity. Now, in the Cranes, the chief digital officer, he said, the post-COVID era, focus has to shift to cost optimization, and the only place the companies are willing to invest is in automation. Mahindra and Mahindra chief HR said, the rise of robots, this is already present, and it's all about one more step going ahead. Rise of robots in automobile sector is inevitable. Now we have to also touch out wherever the touch points are there, where people are going to come to contact each other, can we remove that contact also as far as possible? Head of CED said we need to go full blown on digitization and automation. You can see most of them are talking about digitization, automation, digitization, automation, right? Yeah. So when you have a look at it, whether it talk about Volvo and HS, commercial vehicles, investment in new technology, Sriram Pistons, they're talking about foundry and machine shops, areas are getting automated. So everyone, Tata Steel are talking about we have to minimize people coming together by automation. Everyone here is talking about automation, automation, and automation going ahead in along that, right? So there are lots of other leaders who have spoken, but everywhere you see it is all about automation for some kind of data visibility, automation for flexible manufacturing, automation. So you can see everywhere everyone is putting an emphasis on automation, capability improvement, capability enhancement as a long road going forward. So that takes me towards the next point, which I was trying to put. How do I recover and redesign for resilience? So basically, I'm trying to merge the second and third phase various sequences, right? Here, McKinsey said that it is these types of pressures that make pressures in terms of today's environment, I'd say post-COVID, these types of pressures that make digital capabilities so critical, providing flexibility and resilience to manufacturers so as to mobilize and operate in unfamiliar territory. We never experienced this, right? So these are various Industry 4.0 technologies, tools which are available. I'm not going into details of each of them as such. There are autonomous robots, simulation, system integration, Internet of Things, industrial Internet of Things, and all these things, cyber security, cloud computing, additive manufacturing, or 3D printing, augmented reality, virtual reality. Right? Now, in addition to this, we have to really question ourselves in a supply chain part of it. Now, review the asset strategies, including geographic footprint and concentration of risk. Now, whatever I could observe, I'm just sharing it. I could see that at one point of time, the COVID has started in China, and China was completely banged out, lockdown and everything, dangerous situation signals from China. But the time it moved on to Europe, you could see that it has started reducing in China, right? The moment it started increasing in Europe, then it moved on to, at another time interval T, it moved on to somewhere in US, right? North American side of it. So by that time, slowly, European countries have started reducing, right? When American countries started increasing, European had started reducing. And by the same time, of course, India also started increasing in last 2 days. Now, in addition to that, you can see now that Brazil has come out in a heavy way, right? Canada and all have reduced. Brazil has increased. So could you see a pattern out there? The spread of such kind of epidemics, I did not see is happening together in the globe, one shot. Right? I can see a time period of T difference between each of them. So should I really look at a low-cost country and go out there? Or should I try to spread around in 2 different, 3 different geographies? So basically, I may not get economies of scale. That's a trade-off which I'm doing, but I might benefit from the risk of such kind of humongous lockdowns or the impacts of it. So we might have to ask such kind of questions also. Now, it's also likelihood that there are some quarters who say that the world community might put up a restriction in China and that might come to India. Now, the whole question is, now, is the low cost only the operations to go about? Because with the companies incorporating because of low cost of labor, right? So the companies adopting Industry 4.0 practices, so they can do it at their place because labor is not required. Everything is going to get it automated. So what is required, what is speciality in India, then that is what we have to focus much more. Is it that raw materials are abundantly available? Is it the quality of raw material which we do it's far better? We would also use in future, say next 5-10 years, Industry 4.0, even Industry 5.0, they're talking about it where it's more and more of customization is going to happen. So if you have a look at it, does that make sense for me? that I have to improve my deliverable output, reduce my cost. If they have to prefer, global community has to prefer, or your objective is to export also, then global community has to say that no, investing in my country is dangerous, better give it to India, because they give me also quality-wise better performance, and they also adopt all the Industry 4.0, so its deliverability-wise also very responsive. So error rates are lower, so they are very less likely to also lock down in future, because most of them are already automated. So there is a hidden challenge in this. The moment you speak in Indian part of it, automation, there might be a lot of job loss. There are also various economists which are saying, even the reports which are talking about, that it is expected that 1.22 billion job loss, whatever is going to happen because of Industry 4.0, might actually also compensate by 1.34 billion additional jobs. But that has to mean that your technical capability or skill has to enhance as compared to the present skill level. Right? Now, is that affordable by all the society stratas of India? That's not affordable or not available. You might have a lot of stakeholder resistance. Stakeholders could also be the local people, local community, because you are actually looking at job sourcing from external person rather than hiring my own internal local talent which is there. Although the local talent does not have the talent which you seek of automations, right? In such a case, do you feel that we should, as a manufacturer, after achieving certain capabilities, we should actually go up and open up training institute, interact with the local society, try and get them into the training mode from the beginning itself, maybe at the end of 12th class or after that, get them involved in IR 4.0 tools. So it's quite possible by the time you require them as an input member in your organization, they have a good deal of a capability already inbuilt. Then you might require just fine tuning about it. So that might require also reduce your stakeholder resistance. So you might have to move away your focus from precisely shareholder to get into the stakeholder and how do I go into it, right? So there are various expected benefits. When I go to Industry 4.0, I would really get a real-time visibility of available raw material, finished products, working process, people's asset. That would really make me work more flexible also, right? Robotic process automations will remove the non-value-added repetitive job. It goes to the machine, right? So you're looking at mobile technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, to enable workers to perform tasks that are not, that they may not be trained to be easily done. But with this assistance, they can really help you, right? This could have assisted a shortage of skill set due to isolation, repurposing of the machines and the manufacturing operations and all. Right? These technologies could also enable for remote working and virtual working environment, so that your lockdown issues and social distancing are taken care, as I was talking about it previously. Now, real-time data collection with advanced analytics could also help you identify various quality problems with previous or predict the quality problems before it's happening actually. So that would also help you to take preventive mechanisms rather than corrective mechanisms, right? So 3D printing of spare parts can really help you out where your raw material supplies are stuck in the supply chain in such situations in future. So if I have an access to 3D printing, it might really help me to make these spare parts, and that too at a very cheaper rates, right? At least in the time of crisis. Now, use of artificial intelligence and machine learning to constantly reassess and replan, and also help in the demand planning in the fluctuating environment, right? So these kinds of tools really help us in the long term. Now, use of automated guided vehicles, autonomous electric vehicles, drones, to again reduce the reliance on people and to further assist in social distancing. The technology together with the digital twins, right? So I can have the mirror image sort of a thing at my end and do the remote support to all the OEM suppliers. So you're looking at the servicing of the machines. If I have Industry 4.0 technologies, I can use the advantage of digital twins, and even a remotely placed worker or a service person, maintenance person, can guide the worker what to be done, right? He can see what is happening inside the tools, inside the machines, inside the workplace. So it really helps them. So the benefit could be the shortening of recovery phase, and thus help return the business to the next new normal. Provide the platform to develop new and a more resilient business. The key to successful digital transformation is not only technology, but collaboration of all the stakeholders in the system. It is all about whether the supplier is also willing to talk about it, whether the logistics player is willing to talk about it. Then all these things are a very important element of my raw material supply as a manufacturer. So whether the customer is able to get it or so, and ultimately you are looking at a close knit between all the entities of a supply chain, right? Now there are studies by McKinsey which says that if I'm looking at this remote management of using these AR and VR tools, they are expected to see that there is a tremendous improvement. But for that, we need to change our KPIs of measurement, which was initially bottleneck feed jams, discharge jams, speed loss, and all these things. We might have to give more priority because we don't want the systems to break down. I don't want people to come more frequently. So you are looking at number of times in feed rails are clean. Again, it's all about preventive mechanism. Percentage of shift when center line was validated, again preventive, right? Percentage of downstream downtime in the upstream equipment. Availability, so you are looking at percentage of preventive maintenance tasks completed, number of pre-changeovers checklist completed. You are looking at quality, number of rejects been audited because whether it's doing properly or not, number of inline checks completed. So somewhere you are actually changing your conventional KPIs to some of the new KPIs as fit for a given kind of a sector. This reduces the spread of virus as well and similar future diseases in future, as well as if this is spread out, then it's quite possible again there is a factory lockout situation in future. So by doing these things, it's quite possible that we are limiting such kind of situations. There was also another study by McKinsey which talked about that end-to-end digitization. Of course, this is not in Indian context, this was in American context. They studied this one with various customers' inputs and feedbacks of top management, not customers, top management input of manufacturing sector, end-to-end digitized manufacturing. So you can see the major impact. They are talking about productivity increase due to adoption of Industry 4.0 various tools are expected to be close to around 90–92%. Whereas on the other side, sustainability is expected to enhance the energy efficiency side of it, only energy. So it's basically environmental, pro-environmental, right? To get it pro-societal, you have to provide that job opportunity for them or train them, get it back to the system, get it them into services. Trains in the trains, what they did was in trains, because of digitization, they had started the digitization drive. So they removed the worker from one place, they moved upgraded the skill sets and moved them to the exploration sites, right? So they not replaced, they repositioned the worker at some other job. So time to the market is expected to be higher. So the response rates are, response time has reduced significantly. So all these things, if you have a look at it, really makes sense. In the long run, we invest in technologies. Although IR 4.0 previously was all talked about how does it improve efficiency, how does it improve lower the cost, how does it increase the responsiveness and all these things. The current context of such kind of pandemic coming up, it's quite possible it also takes care of your 6 feet distance rule. There is a social distance part of it, threat of perceptional threat of even virus getting spread and again lockdown. So these are additional, which also gets into the potential benefits of Industry 4.0 tools, right? So if I want to get it back to a very small 4 pointers, I'll say key 4 imperatives for global value chain for manufacturer is I have to be prepared for normal, so rapid adjustment of manufacturing supply chain to changed behavior of the customer. Some products they will last more, some products they will last less, and hence whatever we talked about, can we have portfolio of different products, right? Industry 4.0 adaptation of digitization, enhance agile manufacturing and supply chain in ecosystem to meet the changing demand. We are also looking at next normal way of working as governing for manufacturing resilience. Can I get the task as far as possible off the floor so that we can still have safe environment and still go ahead with our decision-making ability and the day-to-day routine. As far as possible, we should move ahead. Again, for that also you need the technology back-end support part of it, the capability enhancement. You're also looking at all the stakeholders should share the responsibility, right? Now that I'm not talking about shareholder, I'm talking about stakeholders. That includes suppliers, you, the technology partners, the service providers, all of them, even the customers. Then only you will have some kind of a brief idea, although the customers can shift, but can I make them as far as possible our loyal customers? That's the importance what the sales will start getting on. So shared responsibility and collaboration to address economic, environment, and social sustainability, right? We talked about economic, we talked about environment. Social sustainability is how do I get it back to the working stream? Otherwise, it might be a very big challenge to just go and adapt the technology across all the domain, which is primarily, I'd say, migrant labor specific, right? Not migrant, labor specific industries. So I would like to end by these final comments. I'll say, because we are from manufacturing community, operations and manufacturing side, so who better than Henry Ford? So he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have always wanted faster horse. So no one knew what is car. So if I have to innovate, then I have to take bold decisions, right? If you always do whatever you have always done, you will again always get what you always got, right? So effectively saying, if I don't change the way I look at the system operations, let it be looking at the layout designs, let it be look at the interactions mode, let it be looking at the technology capabilities and all, we would not be able to get the benefits out of it. And in future also we'll still be suffering if such kind of events again happen, right? You can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. You have to do something, right? So please look at your ecosystem which you have built up. Is that ecosystem sufficient or not? And that's where it leads us to every crisis is an opportunity. An opportunity is a cause to an opportunity to rectify the causes, improves the response, and avoids the same in future. Right? So I would like to stop here by saying thank you. If you want to have a look at it, some of these I could find out. These are some important reading stuffs which I could get in manufacturing sector. So if someone wants to note it down, you can note it down. You have a look at it. It's very interesting to have it. Right? Thank you. So I'll keep rest 5-10 minutes for any kind of question and